Okay, here's an update on the repair of the mast step that I did here. Basically, I doubled the thickness down there. I put through wooden dowels or pegs. There's 4 of them on the side, and there's one here and one there. They go all the way through the stack. And then these rails, I added these rails. These are cedar. And I pinned it right through there. And the top is twice as thick, so now it's ½ inch on the top and the bottom, and this is 1 inch wider this direction, so it went from 4 inches to 5 inches. There's a crossbar across here, which is right attached to that in the front there. There's 2 pegs here that go into the block that way. I just repainted this. It's only got 1 coat. It probably needs another coat. And these bolts are epoxied in. I just countersunk the top, and then I just poured epoxy in here, so that when you're putting the wing on it, they don't fall through, because you don't have access to here once the wing is on. So those have to be mounted that way. I realized this might break because, so I added a rail here and here on either side of the top of the trunk. I noticed all the other boats had a rail there, and then I realized, oh, that's probably going to break next. So I went ahead and added those 2 pieces of cherry, because the lateral force on the top of the dagger board is similar to the lateral force on the sail. It's almost the same. Of course, the leverage here is 3 to 1, and the leverage on the mast at the mast up is 9 to 1, because the mast is 9 feet tall, and then this part is only 1 foot tall. But this is about maybe 1/4 of the length of the dagger board. So anyway, this is probably thicker than it needs to be, but I just didn't want that to break as well. So I noticed that the floor was spongy over here, and every time I stepped near this area, the floor was sinking down, and it looked like it was about to just about tear the paper seam. So what I did was I cut it. I sliced the paper, and sure enough, this floor went down a good I don't know, 5 or 6 millimeters. And I cut it, and I noticed there's no water in there at all. And so the back of my boat filled up with 2 inches of water twice. So this is a good sign that the paper is actually making a watertight seal, and no water can get in here. There's a layer of expanded polystyrene under here, and it did not get wet at all. There's no signs of water in there. So that means my floor is holding up. So this is the paper. I'm going to install this, and then put some bricks right next to it, so that the floor is completely down. And then since we're on to calculations and trying to figure out what's going to break next, I realized if I do ever get up to 14, 15 knots, the weight on the wingtip could be quite high. It could be, I think it was like 500 pounds or something. So what I did was I clamped the wing here to my workbench, and I was lifting up on it, and I noticed how flexible it was. So I have foam filled in here, but I didn't have anything from there to here. So I started drilling holes and putting foam in there, expanding foam. It's probably not the best way to do it, but I already made the wing. So anyway, so the foam has made it more rigid. The next thing I could do is add a layer of carbon fiber on the bottom. That would make it a lot stiffer. And I've been pulling on it and just testing to see what's going to happen when, if I do get up to 15 knots. That is, well, it's 200 pounds at 10 knots. It's 800 pounds at 20 knots. So it's somewhere in between. It's not 600, it's something like 546 or something. Anyway, that's a lot. I have a correction. The total weight that will ever be on this wingtip is 330 pounds, which is basically the weight of the entire boat plus me. The dynamic force of hitting a wave could increase that. Not really sure what percentage that would increase by. But so anyway, one way to make the wing stronger is to add carbon fiber to the top and bottom. Another way would be to stiffen the rear rib here. And the other idea would be to add a rib right down the middle transversely. Yep, so I'll figure it out eventually. So, and there's my shuttle punt. I haven't used it since July 4th because I've been working on my boat project, the wingmaran here. And that's a dining table I made last week, and I'm going to deliver it to New Hampshire in about a week. It's funny, I can make this dining table in about 3 or 4 days, but it takes about a half a year to make a boat. So I also use paper mache on my punt, and every time I hit a rock it does scratch, and it rips about halfway through the paper. Again, I've never had a problem with the water has never gotten to my plywood ever. The problem is it's not good at resisting abrasion. So 2 or 3 layers of epoxy rolled over the bottom would have been much better, and I don't think it would have added much weight. It's just like 1 or 2 millimeters of epoxy. All right, I just painted the new deck. There it is, as good as new. All right, there's the result of the repaired boat seam in the cockpit. It's just sheetrock joint tape and Titebond 3.